Hey, I'm Matt. Today I want to show you 5 tips and tricks that every beginner woodworker needs to know. And if you've been woodworking long enough, you may know some of these, but I would venture to guess 1 or 2 of these you will not know. Nothing's more frustrating to a woodworker than having a stripped screw. You can't get that out because you've stripped the head, or it was already stripped when you get the project in hand. Now this started out as a Phillips head screw, and I've stripped it on purpose to show you how to remove it easily. When trying to back that screw out, if the head isn't all the way stripped, you can actually use a rubber band to get that out. Or you can use duct tape or any other sticky type tape. Or you can just use a vinyl glove. Anything that will help that bit grip the screw head, it'll back right out of there. Now, if it is totally stripped and nothing is working, not the duct tape, not the glove, not the rubber band, what do? You can use some locking pliers like this if the head is exposed to grip and grab that head, start turning it, and it'll come right out of there. If the head is not exposed, one thing you can do is just take a flathead screwdriver. I recommend an old flathead screwdriver and a hammer, and just basically knock a slot in there. If you have a rotary tool with a cutting head, you can do this much faster. This is a simple on-the-job site type application. Just use the flathead and knock a groove on each side. Put a little pressure on there and back that screw right out. Next on the list, I'm going to show you how to do a little measuring trick. So if I need to get a measurement inside this opening on my router table, for instance, or inside cabinets, between 2 walls, however you need a distance between 2 points that's kind of encased, and you can't just get outside to outside measurement, right? Some people try to use their tape measure. This one's 3 inches wide, some are 3.5. They're just different and adds more complexity than is necessary. You'll see people try to push on each end and then lock the tape and then try to read that measurement, and then where do you actually read it at where it's at? It's just confusing. You may also see people try to hold the tape on one end and bend it and then read the measurement that way. Well, that bend starts taking away from the measurement because it starts sloping up and it just distorts things. A much simpler way is to butt your tape up like you were going to, measure over any distance really. We're going to use 10 inches in this example because it's easy. Then we'll measure over from this side to the mark. Then you got 10 plus 4 is 14 and 7/8 of an inch. So now we know that the exact distance is 14 and 7/8. In woodworking, you're going to use that little measuring trick all the time in between 2 walls inside of a frame, so you can get drawer sizes or door sizes to cut, cabinets, boxes, all types of stuff. That's just a really handy trick to have in your toolbox. When you're drilling holes, you may notice the bottom side of that hole will basically blow out. In other words, all the wood tears out around that hole and it looks like crap. It doesn't look good. How do you fix that? You can see here on one side, the first hole, I just drilled straight through and it just blew out the bottom of that hole. It's gonna look terrible if you're making a project. You can't have that. So if you just take and drill from one side until the tip of that drill bit starts coming through, you'll be able to feel it. Don't stick your finger under there while you're drilling, but stop every now and then and reach under there and feel. You'll start feeling where that tip is broke through. You'll flip it over and drill from the other side, perfectly clean holes every time. By drilling that hole from both sides, you eliminate the possibility of that blowout happening. And as a bonus tip, if you use a Forstner bit like this, you'll get those super clean, smooth holes on the inside, and they just drill a nicer hole versus a drill bit or a hole saw. I'll drop a link to a very affordable set of Forstner bits in the description below if you're interested. Let's talk about measuring and cutting parts. So if I wanted to cut this and I needed a 5-inch long piece out of this, I make that mark, I draw my line, and before I can actually take that piece over to the saw and cut it, I get distracted. I get a phone call, somebody texts me, then you start playing on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and 10 minutes later, you're like, oh yeah, I was cutting this part out. You come back, grab it, go cut it, and you cut the wrong side of the line. So what I got in the habit of doing is after I make my mark, I want to make sure we're cutting the right piece. This side's 5 inches. The piece that I'm not going to use, I just put an X on there. That way I know that I'm cutting on that side of the line. I've seen some people, when they make their mark, they'll draw a tick mark so that it shows this side of the line they're cutting off. Now, however you need to indicate that, some squiggle, whatever you need to do. And then you bring it over to your saw and cut, right? So you want to cut that side of the line, line that up. I like to eyeball down that blade, make sure it's going to be right where I want it. So this piece is the drop piece. I don't need it. I'll throw it out of the way. This piece is the piece I want to keep, but as you can see, it's a little bit too long. I didn't quite get close enough to that line. A really good way is to sneak up on that. It's super easy. Check this out. What I'll do is bring the saw down. I'll push the piece into the blade, and that deflects the blade over just a little bit. And then while holding the piece, I'll let the blade back up. And then when you make your cut, it's actually going to just shave off a tiny bit off the piece you cut. You can see right there, I stopped it so I could show you exactly how much you were cutting off. It's like a 30-second. It's just a tiny amount. It's a great way to sneak up on your cuts. I actually use that little woodworking trick all the time to sneak up on angles, cuts, just to make everything fit just right. My number 5 tip that every beginner should know is it's okay to use pocket holes. I know a lot of times if you ask around on the internet, people say, they're terrible, they're gonna fail, they break, they're weak. That's malarkey. I've got tons of projects in my home. I've sold hundreds of things made out of pocket holes over the years, and I've never had one fail, not one. I've had a bunch of people compliment me on the projects. I've got plans available for most of the projects, and people have built tons of those. Pocket holes are extremely strong joint. A lot of people underestimate how good they really are. And what's really important about pocket holes is it's really easy for a beginner to get started making projects. And once you start making projects, your confidence builds and you want to make more and more and more, as well as your business grows and grows and grows because you keep generating sales for your business. I think pocket holes is one of the things that unlocked woodworking for me. Once I got a pocket hole jig, the world opened up to me. That's why I love them so much. I can't let you go without a bonus. If you look in the description, there's gonna be one titled bonus information. If you check that out, it'll be the greatest piece of information anybody could ever share with you. If you like pocket holes as much as I do, there's 13 of my top pocket hole tips right there. Click that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump. Also, my most profitable, popular pocket hole project right there. Go click that and you can watch that. Plans available for that project. You'll be able to make and sell those. Those sell like hotcakes.